Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to investigate an absolute classic, the ultimate psychological mystery, really. We're talking about Albert Bandura's historic 1961 Bobo Doll Study. If you're an Edexcel GCSE Psychology student looking to ace your exam, you literally need to know this study inside and out. It was a total game changer that completely revolutionized how we understand human behavior and learning.
So let's jump right in. We are tackling a massive, timeless debate here. Are we naturally born aggressive, or do we actually learn to be violent just by watching the world around us? Now, back when Bandura ran this experiment, psychology was totally dominated by behaviorism. Think B.F. Skinner and his rats. The whole vibe was that we only learn through direct rewards and punishments. You do something good, you get a treat. You do something bad, you get punished. Simple, right? But Bandura was like, hold on a second. That doesn't explain how we pick up brand new behaviors we've never actually been rewarded for. He knew there was a missing puzzle piece.
To get you totally exam ready, we're breaking this case file into 4 quick parts: the aim and sample, the procedure, the results, and finally, evaluating the study. All right, part 1. Let's crack open the case file on the aim and the sample. So why did Bandura even do this? Well, he had 2 primary goals. First, he wanted to see if just observing aggression actually creates aggressive behavior in kids, no treats or timeouts required. And second, he wanted to check out the effect of same-sex modeling. Basically, do little boys copy adult men more than women, and vice versa? Okay, grab a mental sticky note and write down this number, 72. Exactly 72 kids were involved in this historic study. Breaking that down a bit, that's exactly 36 boys and 36 girls. They were all between 37 and 69 months old, so roughly 3 to 5.5 years old. And they were all recruited right out of the Stanford University nursery. Now listen up, because examiners literally love this term, matched pairs design. Write that down. Bandura didn't just toss these kids into random groups. He actually had the nursery staff rate each child on their pre-existing aggression levels first. You know, how often they kicked, bit, or yelled. Then he matched them up. A super feisty kid in one group was paired with a super feisty kid in another. This made sure the baseline was totally fair across the board, so no single group was naturally more aggressive than the others. Moving on to part 2, the actual procedure, or as I like to call it, the scene of the crime. If you get a question on how this experiment actually ran, just remember the magic rule of 3. There were 3 distinct phases: observation, aggression arousal, and the test for delayed imitation. Let's see what these kids went through. Phase 1 is the observation. Imagine a kid happily doing potato prints in the corner of a room. In the opposite corner, an adult model walks in with some Tinker toys, a mallet, and a giant 5-foot inflatable Bobo doll. In the aggressive condition, the adult played nicely for a minute, but then just snapped and started violently attacking Bobo. And I mean violently. They sat on it, punched it in the nose, smacked it with the mallet, and yelled very specific phrases like "pow" and "sock him in the nose." Meanwhile, in the non-aggressive condition, the adult just quietly built Tinker toys and completely ignored Bobo. A third control group saw absolutely no model at all. Next up, phase 2, aggression arousal. And honestly, this part is kind of mean. The experimenter takes the kid into a new room filled with the most amazing toys, fire engines, jet fighters, you name it. The kid gets to play for about 2 minutes, having the time of their life, and then the experimenter abruptly snatches the toys away, saying they're her very best toys and she has to save them for the other kids. Why do this? To intentionally frustrate them. Bandura needed to ensure every single child had the exact same baseline motivation to act out. Finally, phase 3, the big test. The highly frustrated child is led into a third room. This room has a mix of aggressive toys, like dart guns and a mallet, and non-aggressive toys, like crayons. And sitting right there in the middle, a 3-foot Bobo doll. The child is left alone for 20 minutes, while trained observers secretly code their behavior every 5 seconds through a one-way mirror. Classic psychology setup, right? Okay, part 3. Let's look at the hard evidence. What did the results actually show? Looking right at Bandura's original data from 1961, the results are crystal clear. Kids who watched the violent adult were significantly more aggressive. But here's the crazy part. They didn't just randomly hit things. It was a complete copy-paste of the adult's behavior. They used the mallet, they sat on the doll, and they repeated the exact same weird aggressive phrases like "kick him." The kids in the peaceful and control groups, almost zero imitative aggression. Now, for your exam, you definitely want to contrast the boys and the girls. The data revealed a huge split here. boys leaned heavily into physical aggression, throwing punches and using the mallet. Girls, on the other hand, went straight for verbal aggression, shouting those specific hostile phrases they had heard the models say. And here's another massive takeaway. Kids heavily imitated same-sex models. Little boys were hugely influenced by the aggressive adult male, like off-the-charts levels of physical aggression. Girls exposed to the female model performed way more verbal aggression. It really showed that kids were naturally filtering this behavior based on what they thought was appropriate for their gender. So, what's the grand conclusion? This was a massive breakthrough. Bandura proved without a shadow of a doubt that aggressive behavior can be learned purely by observing someone else. No treats, no punishments, no reinforcement at all. Just watching. And bam! Social learning theory was born. This was a total paradigm shift. It proved that we learn by observing, retaining, and copying the actions of others. It totally blew strict behaviorism out of the water and showed that our environment, and specifically the people we watch, fundamentally shapes who we become. Finally, part 4. Let's evaluate the study, which is exactly how you're going to rack up those high-mark AO3 essay scores. You've got to weigh the pros and the cons here. On the plus side, absolute killer reliability, because everything was in a highly controlled, standardized lab setting. The exact toys, the scripted modeling, the matched pairs, it's super easy to replicate. But on the flip side, the ecological validity is pretty low. It's an incredibly artificial setting. I mean, critics point out that hitting an inflatable clown, literally designed to bounce back when punched, is that real, genuine aggression, or is it just rough play?
And we absolutely cannot talk evaluation without hitting on ethics. Spoiler alert, modern ethics boards would 100% shut this down today. Bandura intentionally induced and taught violent behaviors to tiny children. That aggression arousal phase, it caused deliberate distress. There was zero protection from psychological harm. And honestly, we have to wonder, did these kids go home and start whacking their younger siblings? We just don't know.
To wrap this explainer up, I want you to think about what this means for us right now. If observation is truly all it takes to learn a behavior, what does that say about the world today? Are we still learning aggression through our video games, our movies, or our endless TikTok feeds? It's a pretty intense question, and thanks to Bandura and a bouncy inflatable clown, it's one we are literally still trying to figure out today. Good luck with your revision and keep questioning everything you see around you.